Good morning, children. Today I will tell you about the poem A Photograph written by Shirley Toulson. It is one of the poems in Hornbill Class 11 English CBSE. It is the second video in which you will know something about the same poem, that is photograph. The photograph is pasted on the cardboard, which shows two girl cousins. Who are they? They are Betty and Dolly. These girls went on paddling in the sea with the poetess mother. Each of them was holding one of the hands of the poet's mother, who was a big girl of some 12 years or so at that time. Her uncle had a camera, and they, all three girls, stood still facing the camera. They pushed their hair aside to smile. Thus the photograph presents three smiling faces. Their feet, which were being washed by seawater for a very short time, have been photographed along with the sea. It appears to have changed less. The poet indirectly hints that her mother's face had changed over the years, but the photograph has not changed. The sea has not changed. After lapse of time, it is some 30 or 20 years later, the poet's mother would laugh at the snapshot. She would refer to the photograph and recollect those ideas, those feelings when her companionship was with Betty and Dolly, who had dressed themselves for the holiday they had thought of spending on the sea beach. How pleasant that moment was. All of them were laughing. It was the most pleasant day. All of them were laughing. How they were enjoying at the time. Her laughter is real and pleasant for the poet. It's a precious memory for her. Both her holiday and her laughter are amusing in an ironic way, as they are linked with her loss that acquires a false state of freedom from pain. Means after that there is no pain that one realizes. So here, children, you have tried to understand these are the feelings. The poet's mother is dead for nearly as many years as that girl in the picture lived. The poet feels at a loss of words to comment on this event, for that it is a solemn moment, serious moment, and its silence makes her silent. Means the poet says that the picture is silent, and this silence silences her. This is the way that the poet pays her tribute to her mother. It is the old photograph that moves her to silence. She becomes speechless. There are some terms that must be well explained to you so that you can have a better memory to understand what is the first word, that is wind paddling. What is its meaning? Wind paddling means swam in the sea. Swam in the sea. Wind paddling. Paddling is the word that tells us how people just walk or just splash the water. Transient. Transient. Its meaning is temporary, short-lived. Once again you can hear. Transient means temporary. Temporary. How clear the pronunciation is there. Short-lived. A snapshot. Photograph taken quickly. A snapshot. Photograph taken quickly. Wry. W-R-Y. Wry. What does it mean? Amused and disappointed. Amused and disappointed. You can also say annoyed. Labored. Labored means what? Work hard. Forced, not natural. Circumstances that are the events or the situation that one faces. Terribly, very much indeed. Terror, it is a kind of a state of frightening. Ease, E-A-S-E, ease, E-A-S-E, ease, means freedom from difficulty, freedom from pain, freedom from miserable conditions of life. So here you will understand the meanings of the first stanza that I will describe now. The cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling. Here the cardboard refers to the molded photograph of the mother and her cousins, two cousins, means they are girl cousins, went paddling. They went for splashing water in the sea. It is the sea beach where they have come to enjoy, each one holding one of my mother's hands, and see the big girl, some 12 years or so. Here you can understand that both the cousins, Betty and Dolly, just holds the poet's mother's hands. Poet's mother is the biggest girl. Nancy is elder to them. At that time, her mother was teenager. It was 12 years. She was 12 years. And here you would also understand what are the things. My mother's hands. You can understand. What is this mm sound is there? That is the consonant. And when the consonant is repeated in the same line in the consecutive words, then it is called alliteration. Here you can understand like that. And see the big girl, some 12 years or so. Here you find in the first line, the cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling. Here you find that after the first line there is no comma, no semicolon, and the next line is repeated. And here such happenings, if it happens in the poem, that is called enjambment. And here you can understand that the first two lines are the best examples of enjambment. All three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera, a sweet face. Here you can understand these are the three girls. They are cousins, sisters. They stood still means peacefully to smile through their hair. Their hairs are waving with the cool breeze of sea, and they are just standing silently but having a pleasant smile wearing on their face, so that the uncle who had come with camera can take the snapshot a sweet face. Again you find after the first line here there is no comma, and in the second line at the uncle with the camera a sweet face, that shows the example of enjambment. Here in the first line one more thing is there. S word is stressed. Stood still to smile. Here st words, st letters are just repeatedly used. Stood s, still s, smile s, through th, dear th. So it is the best example of alliteration. Here, my mother is that was before I was born. At that time, the poet was not born. The poet's mother was 12 years old. It shows like that. My mother, here again you find word, that is alliteration, and the sea, which appears to have changed less. The sea hardly changes. The sea that was before is still present there. That's why the poet says it appears to have changed less. Was their terribly transient fit? Means here, the terribly transient fit, you can understand, they are just washing their feet. The sea water is washing their feet. Transient fit means the human beings, these cousins, mother are human beings and they are temporary, their feet are temporary and they are washed clearly very much by the sea water that the poet says. The poet has used alliteration here by saying T terribly, transient T and fit T. That is the best example of alliteration. Thank you children. I will tell you the next two stanzas in the next video. Thank you children for understanding